So now let's go to the Splyce questions. Let me just 1 second to watch the game to see where...
I think they lost, but that's just me.
No, the game is still going.
Humanoid jumping in, Xerxe here, Broxah, there's nothing you can do.
Use the stopwatch, but there is no way out.
Knock him down, but he's gonna dash out! Oh, it was so close! Kobbe roots him up, and look at Qiyana off towards the side.
Splyce have beaten Origin, now they've beaten Fnatic as well. G2 is the last team standing in front of them.
I think G2 is harder than Fnatic. I think it's gonna be way harder than this week.
So Splyce always been a bit underrated. I always look at them as middle pack, but they always do a bit better than that. But they never challenge for the throne.
For G2, it's easy to look past competition because they've got their eyes set on Worlds, but they cannot lose sight of how important these regular season matches are, of how important it is to lock a first or a second seed as soon as possible.
I mean, I feel pretty confident going up against Splyce.
I love that Splyce played a controlled game of League of Legends. I love that they get better and better at playing what people would call textbook. I want to see more creativity, and I want to see them fight fire with fire. And I want to see the most explosive early game we've ever seen.
I don't think they're that standard. They're playing Qiyana right now, which not many teams play, so I would say they have their niches. They're mostly jungle mid-rank, so I don't want to disrespect them.
When you play against G2, if you go into the game thinking that they are better than you or that they are the scary team, you already lost the game. Even though Jankos and Grabbz are a really strong duo.
Wait, does he walk into it? Oh my god!
I'm sure that we can handle them.
Yeah, it's up for my mid-jungle to not run it down, I guess.
I think this is a chance for Splyce to prove themselves that they can go toe-to-toe when it comes to aggressive League of Legends that decides games.
So many doubted them, but Splyce proved them amongst the best in the LEC.
I want to play a good matchup against them and just smash them.
Oh, the giant rookie.
The chance to get into Worlds is the most important factor.
I feel pretty confident we can take them.
We are going to take down G2 with our best champions.
Welcome back, everyone, for our match of the week between two of the top teams in the LEC, G2 and Splyce. We're also joined by a top team, or at least Broxah and Bwipo from Fnatic for picks and bans. About to get in there. Thank you so much for joining us for picks and bans. Also, congratulations. Obviously, the top three now is Splyce, Fnatic, and G2. Broxah, how strong do you think this top three is in that? Is that the top three that we're going to see going into playoffs, or will one fall out possibly?
I think the top three right now is looking really, really strong. I still consider us and G2 a bit of Splyce, but Splyce has definitely been looking very strong in the previous weeks. Whether it's going to stay the same is a bit...
I'm just going to cut you off for 1 second. I feel like your mic's not working. So we're getting your mic. So maybe...
but I'm sure it was great analysis.
It was, guys, it was the best thing you've ever heard. But Bwipo, yeah, go ahead.
Is mine actually working?
Yours works.
Mine works.
Yeah.
So...
we want to hear from you.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I feel like, generally speaking, in my personal experience at least, G2 Fnatic are the best teams right now. I think Splyce is performing well on stage, and I'm sure that they can keep going. It's just a matter of how long will they last? Because I feel like in terms of longevity, we've seen teams like this show up pretty much every split. Last split was Sjokz, right there. They go up and I don't know what their eventual score was, but they're like top 3, top 4, and then the second half of the split, everything kind of falls apart. So the question is that going to happen with Splyce, or are they going to be able to maintain that longevity that teams like G2 and Fnatic have had?
Okay, fair. Well, this will be a very good indicator, I think, so for Splyce, if they are able to put up a fight against G2 Esports. We are in picks and bans. Can you give me a test one, too?
Test.
Yes, he's back, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. So, as we go into picks and bans, of course, still on 9.13, and we have a G2 Esports that loves to flex, that loves to do everything wacky. We know it's hard to draft versus them, so what are you expecting, Ender, for Splyce's bans?
I mean, in terms of bans, I think it'll stay fairly standard. You know, we've been seeing a lot of this Azir, Karma, Mordekaiser being taken off the table. I think they could even, actually no, they can probably do the Qiyana open. I don't think G2 would look to first pick that one, but in Humanoid's hands, if they can get their hands on that, he looked very good on that champion.
What is something that, what are the issues in going into a draft versus this G2 Esports? How difficult is it?
Well, the thing is that
now with Perkz playing AD carry, you know, many of the champs that have played mid and top can actually be used bot lane as well, and you don't really know, you know, when they pick a champion like, let's say, Nico, for example, it can go pretty much anywhere. You never really know what's coming, and this is the case for a lot of champions, and that makes it really hard to actually draft against them, because they just flex so many champions, and Perkz is really, really flexible in his role, right, compared to other AD carries.
Yeah, I also feel like looking back when these two teams faced off in week 1, it was a huge jungle mismatch. I think like Jankos absolutely styled on Xerxe, and Xerxe has usually had like very strong early game impact. So I'm specifically looking at that matchup as a big indicator of who's actually going to be able to come out ahead and whether or not Xerxe can have any influence over the early game.
We have a bug, so that's why we are remaking.
And we lost the music.
We lost the music as well, which is the worst. Now, in terms of an indicator, as we talked about already, this is going to be a big one, because I think what you talked about there, Bwipo, about Splyce, is something that a lot of people feel. The fact that they are on top, but they have been here before, and they just haven't been able to take that extra step in the last couple of years. So what is it going to take? What do you want to see out of them to prove that to you? Is it just this winning against G2, or is it some style development, or what would it be?
I mean, the whole story about them being strong in the late game and whatnot, I feel like, you know, you can always be a good late game team, but if that's the only thing that you're respected or considered good at, then the reality is that maybe you should work on your mid and early game, right? I feel like last year we had this problem with Fnatic, is that we were considered the late game team, right? So like, oh, if you go past this minute mark, that's always the meme. It's the same as Splyce right now. Oh, you go past 40 minutes, you're going to lose. But the problem is how many teams are going to let you get the 40 minutes?
Okay. Broxah, what do you think?
Yeah, I fully agree with what we were saying, and I don't feel like there's like a point necessarily where you can say that they're going to stay top 3 or that they can be considered one of the best teams in the league. For me, it just comes down to how they look like the rest of the split as well as playoffs, because there's been a lot of times in the past where Splyce looked really good in regular split, and especially towards playoffs, but then somehow they usually folded in playoffs anyways. And I'm really curious to see if they actually manage to stay on top, or if a team like Origin, for example, can come up and, you know, compete as well.
It's almost a reverse Fnatic, because if you guys like have a bit of a slump in playoffs, then usually you rise up again. So what do you think, Ender?
I mean, I just think it's interesting because, you know, we talk about like Splyce as being the late game team, but one of the things we've been looking a lot more at in recent weeks is that this team, their ability to make plays seems like it's tied directly to neutral objective spawning up. Like, they're not a team, like I think Fnatic and G2 are a team that goes and like will search you out and look to kill you inside of your jungle, where Splyce will typically wait until there is an objective to fight over, and that's the thing that will kickstart it for them. That's another thing that also leads to these slower game timers. So it's always something that teams have to be worried about or have in the back of their minds when they go against Splyce. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think Splyce are very good at like dissecting lower tier teams than them, but then faster teams can sometimes get under their skin and punish them.
Yeah, and going into this matchup versus G2, you can also expect G2 to be very aggressive from the outset. So is Splyce then going to look for very strong laning picks, or where do we think this is going to go? I
mean, I think jungle for me, as I mentioned before, you have to get a strong early game jungler for Xerxe. I think one of my favorite champions for him is the Elise. He can definitely have a big impact on that.
Oh, jinxed it.
Oh, see, I said I didn't think G2 was going to first pick that, but I guess they will.
A champion that is new, that can carry, that people are styling with, and you think if it's open, G2 is not going to pick it.
I mean, look, Caps has been waiting a long time to get his hands on this pick, and I think it's been banned away from him too many times. He's not going to let this opportunity go to waste.
Okay, what do we think of the two first picks coming out of Splyce? The Sylas, which probably will be jungle, but we're not sure, and Lux was just played by Norskeren yesterday as well.
Lux going into the bot lane most likely. I feel like a lot of teams have a priority on her. Even a Pyke ban to make sure that she's somewhat safe in the lane. Immediately answered by Yasuo Gragas, which I think we can expect going into the bot lane, because it is the lane that has the most secure kill pressure on the Lux. You have long range with the cask after 6, but as well in the early game, body slam flash, it can't really go wrong, can it?
No.
Yeah, it's like G2 is one of these teams, because I don't feel like all of our teams can play Yasuo Gragas in the bot lane. Like, this is a very unique thing to G2, and I think we saw them play it at Rift Rivals. This is definitely a duo. Like, Mikyx on his famed Gragas is always going to be a fun thing to see, and it brings the engage tools that sometimes we lack when we see Xerxe on more playmaking junglers.
Yeah, if this is the Gragas Yasuo in the bottom lane, and we assume that it's also the Lux, then what do they need in terms of an AD carry or a marksman or another bot laner to kind of go against that Yasuo Gragas lane?
I mean, I think a lot of times we see like Sivir as a pairing with this Lux, but I don't think that's a great option against like the hard engage of a Gragas. I think an Ezreal would probably be like a better option just in terms of safety to avoid the body slam engages that we're going to be seeing Mikyx go for.
I think something like an Ezreal would make a lot of sense as well, because most AD carries are going to have a really hard time surviving against this, and you need some sort of teleport or gap closer to actually, or like dash or whatever to actually get away from.
And Ezreal's the only one that can do that.
Yeah, pretty much.
The problem you have with picking Ezreal here is that you're basically conceding your lane. Yasuo will get the shove, and then you have a Gragas running on in your jungle trying to make your life a little bit more miserable being Xerxe. So I like the Lucian a bit more there because you still have that dash, but you're also able to put on the gas, right? You want to be able to pressure that lane. You don't want to let them do what they want, because if they start pushing and you have a Yasuo and a Gragas past level 6 just running around in your river, you've got about 2,000 range worth of you're dead.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely tricky because Splyce, we said it already, is a team that doesn't necessarily make all those kills early. They also don't die that much early, but I think G2 and probably you guys as well are teams versus which you can't let that happen because they're going to run away with the game, definitely G2 Esports. We're going to get the Viktor, which, okay, help me here. Top lane, Qiyana, mid, and Gragas, Yasuo bot?
It's a flex Viktor, right? That's obviously the strength of picking Viktor right there. You're probably going to want to match them into Akali. Your early laning phase is fine. After level 6, though, it could get a little bit hairy if she gets the all-in on you. But generally speaking, Viktor's a relatively safe champion. Also gives wave clear to this composition, which is something that you didn't have. You have a Qiyana and Yasuo. It's something not a lot of people actually think about, but it's nice having someone sitting mid, right?
Right. Wave clear also just like magic damage on this composition was going to be lacking, especially like it's not a jungle Gragas, so even though you will do magic damage, it's not like you get to build a lot of AP items. So I do like that switch around here from G2.
I also think it's important to mention that there is a world where G2 actually puts the Yasuo mid here now that they pick Sejuani, which is a really good combo as well. They could go Yasuo Gragas bot, they could send the Viktor bot. Like, they actually have a lot of flex picks. This is a typical G2 draft where
you never know until you know.
I feel like picking Gangplank into a Viktor seems a little bit cocky. It's not as bad as picking Gangplank at Rise, but you're getting there, I think.
Okay, if these are the final comps, what are we thinking to the victory chances of each team?
I mean, I really like what G2 have. Like, the Yasuo Gragas bot lane, I think, is a really clever thing to pull out in a game like this. You also just have so much teamfight initiation tools from long range. The Qiyana, the Sejuani, the Gragas as well. If you get a body slam flash in there, you have a lot of tools to try and pick off very vulnerable members in picks like the Lux and the Gangplank.
What I'm seeing here also is that there's a Splyce who looks like they just want to go toe-to-toe with G2. You know, they have an Akali who can be the playmaker as well. They have the Gangplank for some cross-map control as well, even though it's maybe not the best matchup. But what kind of an early game can we expect with these comps?
I think this is a G2 type of game with two really volatile team comps. There's going to be a lot of early game action, and Splyce will definitely have to step up their early game and try to put on the gas to be able to match G2 in this one.
Final thoughts?
I think it's a great composition for G2. They're happy to play this. Wunder gets a matchup where he has the control. He can use the fact that he, all his experience and his consistency will show here is something that he's comfortable playing. He has the control. Mid lane, assassin versus assassin.
Yes.
Flipping a coin, I believe Caps is associated with. He's not unhappy with this mid lane matchup.
And then you have a fantastically hyped mid lane matchup. The wait is over. Splyce and G2 are ready to hit the rift. Drakos, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It is your match of the week in the LEC Week 5. G2 Esports versus Splyce, 8-1 to 7-2. The potential to tie it up right here with a Splyce win. And more importantly, due to the new tiebreaker rules, own the head-to-head.
Yeah, I think this is a really important game for Splyce, and I think they can also help solidify themselves amongst the top teams in Europe. Something we heard both Bwipo and Broxah saying was that we don't know how they're going to perform in the second half of the split. So I'm curious as to how.
Also, Vedius is here now.
Oh, hi.
It's a try guess. Frosk, Vedius, Dragas.
Hello, Vedius.
Hello.
Pleasure to meet you. What I think is interesting here, and I don't want to wave the white flag for Splyce yet, especially as we're 1 minute into the game.
Of course.
But I don't know if Splyce have to win for them to cement themselves as a top team. I think they've proven themselves that they're a top team. I actually just want to see how well that they measure up against world-class talent like G2.
But don't you know the rules here in Europe, Frosk?
If you don't win the best of one, you're the better
best team. Exactly. That's why Fnatic had it, then Rogue had it. Now Misfits are the best team in Europe.
Simple as that for now. Eyes on early jungle pathing. Gragas and Yasuo. Easy leash for Sejuani with double melee champions. Meanwhile, on the top side, Sylas will get a leash as well. And I think we always have to talk about this jungle matchup because the last time these two teams played, Xerxe actually got demolished.
Yeah, actually, the first time that they met up, Xerxe was significantly far behind. I believe his scoreline, I think even by 15 minutes, was like 0-5-1. The guy got absolutely shut down by the members of G2. Now, I think as an individual, he showcased a lot of growth throughout the split. It's never a fun task to play G2 right at the beginning of the split, and I think that he's looking for a better performance. So far, he has decided to start on the top side, which has actually allowed Kobbe and Norskeren to get the early push in bot to mitigate some of this pressure that Perkz and Mikyx is looking to exert.
And I know you're a super big fan of facing a Yasuo in the bot lane, Drakos.
I love playing Yasuo in the bot lane, but only when my opponents don't know how to play against Yasuo in the bot lane. Perkz definitely knows what he's doing, though.
It definitely takes a little bit of wind-up time, however, before Yasuo. He needs a couple of levels before he really gets unlocked with this Gragas and starts becoming a massive pain. So, like Vedius is saying, it creates this strong side of the map for Kobbe and Norskeren where they can get the initial push, but they really want to try to bounce this wave so they can get the wave back in a good position so that when Yasuo does turn online around the level 3, level 4 mark, that they're not in a bad spot.
Notice how both junglers have actually done full clears around their red side of the map. So Xerxe's cleared his top side and moved towards bot, and this is actually giving more comfort for Kobbe and Norskeren to play aggressively. And now he's gained a bit of information. The Raptors are gone. That means the Jankos is probably top side, and we saw some exclamation mark pings on the top side, letting the Humanoid and Vizicsacsi know Jankos should be around.
Now coming forward, though, has to be careful. Jankos can't just move into Humanoid. The flash out, the flash follow. That's going to be the root. The ignite goes down. The flash in from Jankos as well. Caps holding tower aggro is just going to tick down. First blood for Jankos.
And I agree with you, Vedius. Humanoid knew that he was on the top side. He just thought that he was safe enough. So maybe, I don't want to call it cockiness or arrogance, but obviously guess wrong there, and G2 forced the play.
Who dives at level 3? Like, this was just a crazy... Like, the moment Humanoid flashes, he thinks he's safe, but Caps tanks the tower while Jankos secures the kill. This is just classic G2 in a nutshell. Like, no one does this.
It's the fact that they see opportunities that other teams just don't.
Now, the risk they have, though, is that a flash is gone for Caps and a flash is gone for Jankos. So while they do secure first kill, that means that there's opportunities for Xerxe around the mid lane, especially once Humanoid gets a couple more levels under his belt.
And you can see from the damage percentage, I want you look at that number at the bottom, 28.7% for Humanoid. Huge source of damage for his team. Caps playing on G2, everyone's doing pretty much even damage across the board, but Humanoid has been clutch with this Splyce team in the last few weeks. So for him to get shut down in this early game is actually quite devastating when he's been, I think, one of Splyce's best individual contributing members.
Yeah, and you're against Cap, so no pressure.
It's one of those things where Humanoid, for me, has been a player that we talked a lot about it at ReadyCheck at the beginning of the day, Frosk, where he used to be a player that when you set up the dominoes, he didn't always knock them down. But this split, it feels like when you allow him to be a carry, he's much better at doing that in his role, especially on his Akali, as he's demonstrated a few times so far this split. And G2 have decided, well, we don't want to let that happen. We're going to attack you very early on, and they've already secured themselves first.
It's about attacking one of the strengths that Splyce was showcased, kind of one of their X factors and Humanoid, because I feel like his ceiling will be Splyce's ceiling, and then also empowering probably the greatest Western player in Cap. So if he starts popping off, Humanoid doesn't get to do anything. Obviously, you can see that this will very quickly go G2's way if Caps has his way.
And no surprise to see Xerxe covering a little bit here, leaving room for another potential follow-up gank from Jankos, because while the kill, or the assist rather, is nice for Caps to have, it's actually a 15 CS discrepancy between the laners at this point. So Humanoid, despite dying early on, is still doing well for himself in the individual 1v1.
A lot of that comes off the fact that they committed to the dive, which means that Humanoid could set up a slow push wave towards him. So he got a lot of farm that Caps didn't have access to, no teleport on Caps as well. So that was the biggest discrepancy that's actually allowed Humanoid to stay even after the early kill.
But despite the potentially explosive bot lane, despite top lane as well, looking more like a farm lane, all eyes have been on mid lane this entire game. Both sides seemingly content to let the Lucian Lux versus Yasuo Gragas just get closer and closer to that level 6. But Xerxe now moving into the enemy jungle, looking for a little bit more vision. The Ignite now coming down. Body Slam Flash goes forward. The Lucian is going to be in trouble. The Wind Wall comes out to block a little bit more, but the damage is going down onto Perkz. The barrel, not going to be enough. The shielding is now coming in, but Perkz has put himself between a rock and a hard place. Can he get away from Xerxe? The flash forward, but no, not enough. The challenging smite, plus the Petricite burst will be more than enough to find the kill. Jankos now potentially looking for a follow-up.
And it's just telegraphed. You know that level 4, they're going to get that power, the Yasuo and the Gragas. They can look for those plays, and just in time, Xerxe is there to punish it, as well as nicely played by Kobbe and Norskeren.
Beautiful response from the side of Splyce. Xerxe, right place, right time, able to shut down the duo of Perkz and Mikyx from getting that early snowball. Now we can see the initial play. What I want you to keep eyes on is the wind wall coming out from Perkz. Completely mitigates the CC and damage from Norskeren. So Kobbe's in a 1v2 where he's forced to flash out. That dash back in from Perkz is ultimately what costs him his life. Well, allows those extra 2 auto attacks to come out from Norskeren, and I believe the Kingslayer from Xerxe to help finish off that kill. So beautiful stuff from Splyce, punishing the small mistakes.
Just a good look overall. Yasuo, not a champion that does well when he falls far behind. Lucky for him, just buy more daggers, easy smooth itemization, won't hurt too much here in the lane, but pretty much all that damage came from Kobbe in the exchange. The Lucian so strong early on, but Humanoid now in trouble. Mikyx now the one to fish for a gank on the back of that reset. We'll leave Perkz alone on the bottom side of the map, but Jankos is going bot lane as well, so a lot of points of action to keep your eyes on. Level 6 available for the Sejuani. Perkz now looking forward, going to throw out the knock-up and try to follow it up with the guaranteed CC, looking for the 3rd and the 4th auto, lockdown, follow-up CC, chained down, and Jankos will grab yet another kill in the early game.
Just easy walking them down. I was about to talk about kind of the different windows that Perkz and Mikyx would still be able to find in this matchup, namely at that level 6, as well as the fact that Sejuani was going to have 6, and right on time, Jankos is like, I've got the ultimate, I'm just going to walk down at this guy.
The classic bait and switch. Both supports roam out, both bot laners think that they're perfectly safe, and then all of a sudden, wait, why is there a jungler here? That's not part of the rules, that's not the agreement.
And now Jankos for Norskeren. Ooh, good blast cone, takes him out to safety, but yeah, you gotta be careful. Wunder taking the better end of a trade against Vizicsacsi on the top side of the map, but right now, despite good bot lane plays for Splyce, G2 are still finding these opportunities.
I do love those opportunities. Like you're saying, you know, you always know that after the initial back that the supports are probably gonna wander towards the mid lane to look for a play or possibly just set up vision. So the fact that G2 read this and then just try to throw out the rulebook and say, no, the jungler's not also going to be here, but Jankos slides underneath into the bot lane. It's again, they see opportunities that other teams don't see available.
So what can Splyce kind of look for now? Because when I look across some of the summoner spells, ooh, looks like we see a potential fight. Ha! You can go stealth, but I can go stealth too, says Caps, as he uses the grass element to dodge out from some of the damage from Humanoid.
That was very anticlimactic.
4th new champ played this split. Oh, here we go, all in.
Oh, Ignite.
Are you like testing your reading skills?
I was just, so I read it in my head, yet I said it out loud.
It's fine. I looked at it and said caps. Yes, that is all caps. That's not lowercase. That's correct. So I'm absolutely no better. For Caps, though, could now look to force the dive here. Has a supreme display of talent up and available, and it makes it hard for Humanoid. He can't position near any of those walls if he wants to be safe. Jankos with the ult, you can keep your eye on that cooldown corner or timer in the corner of your screen. Remember, 2 melee champions here means if Humanoid does step forward without a shroud, he will pretty much instantly die. Caps, though, tanking 2 tower shots means this play is probably dead in the water.
He's feeling himself here. Like, I like the confidence from Humanoid, because that's obviously just going to be a very frustrating maneuver when you have 2 people approach your tower. You don't have any backups. You just have to watch them take the plate and deny you that much CS. But still, a lot of confidence from Humanoid to step back up before Xerxe got there and say, okay, I don't think they're going to do it again.
I think he also wanted to try and stay in XP range for as long as possible, because XP is super valuable this early on. Meanwhile, in terms of the rest of the map, I'm still keeping my eyes on some of these summoner spells.
Caps versus Humanoid trying to get out. Grabbz play, the Gangplank all coming in. Ooh, Humanoid makes it out. That's the play that he's looking for. Not quite a 1v1, but damn close. And Jankos will not come out on top in this 1v1 matchup. Needs to make it out to safety. Where's he going to go? We'll step forward. We'll go right into Humanoid. And the 3-0-0 Sejuani. You cannot keep Jankos off of carrying no matter how hard you try.
Flash ultimate from Jankos to say no one does that to my mid laner and gets away with it. They end up trading 1-for-1. Caps definitely over aggressive in that play, fails on the execution. Humanoid with a nice outplay, but it ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of G2 as a kill also happened bot.
But meanwhile, we've got all of this action happening into the mid lane, but the top lane is going very odd. Hold on.
Perkz, please be careful. Wind wall will be huge here. Eyes on the tornado.
Need to be careful.
No ultimate available for Caps.
Ooh, great flank.
Humanoid is here as well. Just going to dash right through him. Says, thanks for the taxi. I'll just try to walk away on that Humanoid. Can he get anything else? Auto's coming in. A good bit of damage. Perkz going to pin himself against the wall. Has to be careful, but Mikyx is going to make it out too. Oh. Someone had to die there. Caps try to go for a play in the mid lane. But we'll get a brief pause here as G2 will slow down.
I swear G2 are cheating.
Where do you want to pick on the map? Do you want to go bot? Do you want to go top?
Unbelievable. So let's start with the whatever replay we get.
Whichever
bot
one
lane.
they want.
So this is actually the kill that happened in the 2 versus 2. They saw that the jungler was mid, so they knew that they could go for the all-in. So while they may have failed earlier, they were going to make it work out this time, and they do so beautifully. Great setup from them.
And as you look back, of course, on this play, Grabbz, it feels like getting a little over-aggressive here. Supreme display of talent does not connect on the stun and wants to make it out to safety. I'm not sure if he intended to grab Rock there or was looking for Grabbz for a bit of extra stealth, but gotta give praise to the Lord and Savior of G2 in this game, Jankos, because that's bam.
Talk about, like, who expects that? You know? Would a Sejuani really flash in my face and just ulti?
Nah, probably not. He would never do that. And the thing that I do want to talk about, though, well, I'll have to hold that dock, once again they're killing each other. Cap's now going to run for his life, wants to take a grab. A Grass Blade by a bit more time, but no wants to turn it instead. Oh! I thought he'd run. He was not having it. Caps turns the play around in an instant. So much damage from the Qiyana. First, he'll take the ult and back off, but Perkz is here in the mid lane too. G2 are now grouping. Might look to put down a bit of pressure in this mid lane.
Yeah, it's been actually a swap. You can see that Kobbe's up into the top side, and it's just meandering down from G2 as they do have numbers advantage despite the swap here to now start up the Rift Herald.
Beautiful stuff from the side of G2. Splyce were not expecting the Mickey roam up. They thought that they had caught Caps out of position, but the burst on Qiyana with very few items early on to the game, when you don't get to itemize that much armor, just showcased right there, and already leading the damage shots, along with Jankos on the Sejuani.
Total gold earned. Jankos raking it in. This man is about the money. The Wunder might be too as he chases down Vizicsacsi here. A little bit extra movement speed from the Siphon Power. Wants to walk him down, but Vizi will walk away in the end.
So this has gotten a little bit better for Chachi. For a long time, Wunder has just been leading him onto the CS. It started to close just narrowly here, but Wunder really has been having a go of it in this this matchup because a lot of Chachi's resources and ultimates have obviously been spent either mid lane or bot lane, anywhere but in his lane.
What has surprised me is G2 have actually put very little focus on trying to secure the early Mountain Drake, and instead of prioritized getting the Rift Herald, because they realize that their siege is actually not that strong. So the earlier they can get a bigger lead, the faster they can look to try and snowball this game, and already you can see the plates in the mid lane. They want to try and get more gold on the Caps and maybe even take this town.
That's the key thing for me. It's the fact that they're funneling so much gold and so much attention onto Caps, and I'm very excited to see another Qiyana just pop off and see how much damage she could do.
Oh, the root connects, knocked right out of the shroud. No safety for Humanoid, but the shield will be enough. The Supreme display of talent is not supreme enough, and Humanoid's going to walk away. Herald won't even get the tower in the end. Good counterplay from Splyce.
But it feels like the damage has still been done. G2 made their point. You can see that Caps is actually just hanging around, so while the tower didn't fall, G2 are perfectly fine with that play.
Looks good.
Now they can even look for a setup on the Drake, because notice how Perkz is making his way down towards the rest of the team. Caps is also going to clear out another wave, but it looks like that with Wunder resetting, maybe this is a little too risky to commit to.
And yeah, Jankos immediately going to leave the pit, realizing the rest of his team does now need to recall. Caps will back as well, see what the items are going to be. Will it be the Dust Blade? Most likely coming out as Perkz has now finished the Static Shiv, much further ahead than the last Yasuo we saw in our previous game for Pyrian, so we'll be much more comfortable to step up into this 1v1 matchup versus the Lucian.
And now things are going to get really scary for a lot of Splyce members. You can see that Perkz is recognizes how strong he is, as does Kobbe and Norskeren. A lot of these matchups are going to go very lopsided, especially depending what the completed itemization is for Qiyana. Doesn't quite have the Duskblade, she's still in between items, but as soon as she has that, and the fact that Yasuo and Gragas are super comfortable here, there's so much agency for multitude of G2 laners.
And interesting, the Qiyana will now go to the bottom side of the map. And GP has opted for a little bit of magic resistance, so will be punished for doing so as the lane swap does come out, but Vizicsacsi may just move up to the mid lane and Splyce may try to respond.
G2 are actually in a great position right now because they're the ones with the teleport advantage. Even though Splyce have 2 extra teleports, they've used a lot of them to assist the rest of their team, look for plays around the map, even just get back into lane. Whereas Caps being sent down towards the bot side of the map suggests to me that G2 should be looking for a Drake play, but their duo is up towards the top side. So a lot of where their power comes to securing this neutral objective isn't actually available to them. So instead, they're just going to put their priority onto securing some of these outer towers.
And will not be contested in this tower take. Vizicsacsi doesn't want to take the risk to step forward, knows that he's playing on the weak side of the map at the moment, and finally Jankos does feel empowered to start up this Mountain Drake, knowing that he has the man advantage on the bottom side. Meanwhile, Splyce on the top will look to play for some of these early plates. Actually, it's too late for that, so they're just going to get what damage they can.
I kind of feel like at this point, like G2 feels so comfortable and so strong comparatively to Splyce's composition at this point in the game that they know that they don't need the numbers advantage to secure things. It's actually just like hunting, and if Splyce make a mistake, G2 will pounce, kill them, take the tower, like shove them out of their lanes. They're just getting everything. They're starting to bully Splyce out of these lanes.
I'm also kind of considering what does scaling look like, because whenever you have a G2 comp, I feel like scaling is a difficult thing to assess. Yasuo is always going to be stronger the more crit items that he has, right? Viktor is also a late game menace, but we know that Akali can be a huge carry factor as the game progresses, and they look to shut it down.
Good sidestep, double sidestep coming from Humanoid, walks back to the Sejuani ult to make sure that he does not get hit by the cast there, so well played to survive. G2 still get pressure in the mid lane, but overall well played, and this is kind of the difficulty, I think, of surviving against this composition. May not get the chance to scale. G2 keep finding for picks like this.
But just look at some of the level differences. We can see Caps with level 11 to level 10 of Humanoid. Perkz also has a level advantage over Kobbe, and while Mikyx is suffering a little bit in terms of experience, he's making up for it with the kills and gold that he's picking up by being involved with so many of these picks and kills across the map. So Mikyx still finding influence, even though he's not sitting with Perkz all the time.
And just naturally has so much utility built onto his champion, so it doesn't hurt as bad when your Gragas doesn't have the necessary levels.
And just looking at the difference between some of the respective laners, Perkz obviously very comfortable in this mid lane matchup. You can see 1.5 items completed versus the bits and pieces from Humanoid forced into early armor in this matchup, and it makes it a lot more difficult as the healing that comes through from Gunblade is pretty critical for Akali to sit comfortably in any lane. But Perkz, though, will now exhaust on the top side. They're going to look for the instant CC. Kobbe will find the sidestep, and Coling will come out to do a bit of damage and clear the wave. Instant cancel to make sure he can walk away to safety.
And so all Jankos was actually doing was hanging around the top lane to cover Perkz and work with his team to secure river vision. But the moment they spotted out Xerxe, that was an opportunity window to then collapse onto Kobbe. And this is something we really want to iterate for G2, is that the moment they recognize they have a pressure advantage, they immediately play for it. They're so quick to make these plays that teams often struggle to react, and now Kobbe's without his flash.
And stylistically, Splyce are one of the teams that really struggle here. We like to call them a set play team, and that when they get their pieces set up, then they can start knocking down the dominoes, but they do take a long time to set up. It's one of the reasons why their average game time is very long, and so stylistically against G2, it's never going to feel good as Splyce, because G2 love to find you in the jungle as you're rotating, as you're setting up your chessboard to start making these playbook plays. They find you, they catch you, they kill you.
And while the bot lane kind of tells us they are willing to match fire with fire, G2 have clearly been outpacing them in the early game of 4K, rather 3.5, about 2.2. I can't do math, don't know why I'm trying. 3K gold lead for G2 as well as the Mountain Drake at this point of the game. Makes it pretty easy for them to just continue to snowball. And for Splyce, good news is they have scaling options. You talked about how it's hard to talk about G2 scaling. Well, it's easy to talk about champions like Gangplank, like Sylas, level 16s, big crit items and ultimates can be crucial for Splyce.
Yeah, but do Splyce ever get there?
Well, it might not, because Xerxe will pull out the cast. He's going to try to make it out with the Kingslayer. Abscond Abduct will not be enough, and Jankos now on a rampage.
I don't think he's the only one. Pings to Gangplank. Can Chachi get out with the TP?
The great escape. Now flashing forward, wants to get it. The snare will connect. Vizicsacsi not going to find any relaxation time here on the bottom side of the map. The stun will come through. Cannot orange his ways out of that one. The cooldown is not up. And now he's on the retreat, but Caps finds the kill. The point and click on the stone form Q will be enough. His Humanoid finishes for the 1v1, but Perkz is now coming through as well. The knockup is instantaneous. The ignite is down. The flash flooding through, and Yasuo will grab the kill.
And very quickly, G2 have just found themselves 3 quick kills on the map. Xerxe was walking through his bot side jungle thinking that he had priority, but he didn't. G2 were already setting up a play to collapse onto Vizicsacsi, and he gets caught out. It just results in 1 kill after the other, and now just before we hit the 20-minute mark, G2 escalate their gold lead to 5,000. They secure a tier 2 turret in the mid lane. And like, what can you do against this team that just plays the map with so much control?
I don't know what the analysis has to be here, because it's pretty clear to see that things have gotten wildly out of control for Splyce. They're basically just hanging on by the tips of their fingers. They need a miracle. They need a lot of time to farm. It's about, can they create safety nets for them to farm in and start getting some of this necessary gold, but G2 just move so damn quickly.
And it's crazy, right? Because the thing that you need to notice on the minimap was how G2 had started pushing in mid. So what they were going to do was they were going to bring their mid laners down into the river and down towards bot so they could gain pressure there, and then start setting a vision towards the bot side of the map. But Xerxe and Vizicsacsi thought that because of how far pushed up it was, Xerxe had to cover Vizicsacsi, and he just wasn't expecting Jankos and Caps to already be in position to set it for the next play. And this is just G2 thinking 2 steps ahead, and Splyce thinking they have time, but they just don't.
And this is the notorious G2 mid game. When they already have these advantages they built up in lane, this is literally the worst team in the world to play against with an early game lead because of how quickly and how confidently they move across the map as a unit. Now for Splyce, they've been put on the back foot, no doubt about that. 5K gold deficit. Baron not on the table for G2 G2 yet. With a Mountain Drake, it will be looming more and more as a coming threat. Mikyx has to be careful though, has now been locked up. That's going to be a kill back for Splyce. No, Mikyx now escaping. Perkz throwing down the wind wall, but will not be enough as the GP ult will secure in the end, but a lot more resources than Splyce wanted to commit there.
But very close to terms of Mikyx trying to get out there. It was just kind of the very tip of the wind wall that didn't cover his exit there. I can't believe Mikyx survived that long.
Jankos, though, not afraid to get a fight kicked off. Caps onto the backside. Supreme display of talent. We'll find 2 on the stun. Norskeren goes golden. Wunder may just go over the wall. Huge ultimate damage. Kobbe taking so much. Jankos now finds the stun as well. Humanoid on the backside. What else can he get? Wunder is now going to be in trouble. The knockup is there, but Humanoid is invisible. Dashes through, uses him out as an escape, but Caps already finding a kill back in exchange. The stolen Qiyana ult comes in. Xerxe wants a piece of Caps. He now steps forward, but he gets locked up instantaneously. Kobbe is unafraid, though. He knows the wind wall is not available. Perkz, when he's going to come back up, he needs it if he wants to survive. Can they turn this play? Is there a knockup? Perkz with no ult available. Xerxe now on the hunt. The binding will connect. Perkz going into Norskeren. He's going to find one kill. Can he turn it back? Xerxe is going to grab one in exchange. Splyce are slowly but surely winning this fight.
And this was a huge team fight win for Splyce. We get to see an instance of the G2 greed, where they overcommit for a play, they didn't have the members available. Only now does Mikyx finally arrive, but Splyce punished G2 for their over-aggression, yet somehow G2 still walk away with an Ocean Drake.
It's just the fact that they're able to find these outplays. There's almost like this superhuman element of G2 where there's no way that any of this is pre-planned. It's the fact that they all think at the same time, they all think at the same direction, and you very rarely see teams that have this type of synergy where just instantaneously they can make a call about who they're going to turn, where their target selection is going to be.
But I really want to reinforce that this is a mistake from G2.
Yes,
if
absolutely.
they did not have this kind of gold lead, this could have been so much worse. But this is kind of where the discussions around G2 playing with their food comes from, because they don't need to make this play. They don't have the proper setup. This is just G2 greeting, seeing potential for kills, and thinking they can make it happen.
And then having the outplay potential there. Perkz, the fact that he sidesteps Norskeren's binding, he turns around, uses the vision, and gets on top of the Lux to find a kill that really shouldn't have been there for the majority of teams.
And when you look at both of these teams, obviously their game times tell completely different stories. G2, one of the fastest, absolutely the fastest. Splyce, one of the slowest. And now if Splyce want to win, they need to keep dragging this one out, because you're going to guess in 3.5 minutes that G2, if they want to stay on the clock, are going to look to end this one. And Baron, clearly the way that they need to do that. You mentioned it, poor sieging already for a vastly melee-based composition. So if G2 want to end, Baron feels like a necessity, or just a massive teamfight win.
Feels like skirmishes also are what G2 will rely on as they start up a 2-man Baron. Caught.
Xerxe, though, will take the ultimate from Caps. It's going to make it very difficult to approach the pool, but Caps does not hesitate now to move in, look for a little bit more. Caps, though, now caught out, has to be careful, will be pushed away by Supreme Display of Talent. We might freeze frame for a moment as the shutdown now comes through. He's caught out, caught overextending, and Splyce can look to push in the mid lane here. If they can find another kill, maybe they just force the Baron themselves.
G2 focused on maintaining river control to allow Wunder to be able to push in that top tower and secure it. This meant that Caps independently was trying to maintain mid-wave priority, and Splyce were like, well, we're just going to send 5 people here to guarantee it. Caps gets caught out, great setup from Splyce. They've now been able to close that 5k gold gap to only about 3k, and this is definitely more favorable for Splyce as they open up the map a little bit
This feels
more.
like G2 also kind of spreading their resources thin and trying to get away with murder here. The fact that they were simultaneously holding the mid wave without numbers advantages, that Wunder was also picking up free farm up to the top side and juggling the Baron. It's not the cleanest setup, but that's G2 kind of testing their limits, if you will, and Splyce just called the bluff.
Yeah, exactly that. Notice how Vizicsacsi roams up from bot lane to top. He secures that bot tower, and Caps is by himself trying to hold this mid wave so that G2 can at least have some mid priority, but the rest of G2 are not there to support him, and Splyce find themselves a pick and a tower.
Of course, the tower going to start to even things up, and the pick buying them a bit more time. Ultimate will be just short, but we'll make sure that the Baron has not been started. Good scout out by Norskeren. Splyce now could look to fight for mid lane priority. Feels like they have to if they want to move into this pit area, because the vision is still very much in favor of G2 at this point in time.
And that's kind of 2 over-aggressive plays from G2 that have slowed this game down. You know, we've stopped hemorrhaging bleeding for Splyce. They're starting to close this gold discrepancy just a little bit and find the necessary gold so they can start getting more damage back. As I say that, though, another pick possibly being set up.
Oh, the flank. Taking a page from the Book of Hylissang. Caps now fishing for a kill onto Vizicsacsi. Vizicsacsi going to flash his way out of this one. Is going to move back in with the ultimate. Xerxe on the backside with the Soul and Viktor ult. Now pushing through the team. Humanoid can also look to follow up, but the rest of the team just looks like they're going to back off. Flash will be down, as well as ultimate for Vizicsacsi, but does make it out with his life.
ultimately a Summoner Spell advantage gained for Splyce because both the Flash and Exhaust were used from Caps and Perkz, whereas only the Flash was spent from the side of Vizicsacsi. Great play from him to get out of that situation. Felt like the Caps wasn't entirely sure what he wanted to commit to. Do I try and set up a flank onto Kobbe and Norskeren, or do I try and catch out Vizicsacsi? And because of that slight indecision, Splyce had enough time to react and outplay and get out.
We've also got enough key items that it is kind of harder to find the necessary targets here. You saw that Chachi, he's not super tanky, but he can survive a bit of damage, and Humanoid also has access now to his Zhonya's Hourglass, so it is harder to find these assassination targets.
And Humanoid now chasing down Caps, is just going to look to grab this kill. Caps coming back, no supreme display of talent means no kill for Caps. Humanoid just finds a solo kill.
Beautiful stuff from Humanoid. He has now completed the Gunblade, he has the Zhonya's Hourglass as well, and in assassin matchups, whoever strikes first often has the advantage. So Caps face-checking a brush means that Humanoid was able to land that initial damage, and that allowed him to get the kill. Beautiful stuff there from Humanoid, and this will continue to close the goal gap between G2 and Splyce.
And I honestly really just want to double down on that praise for Humanoid, because so many teams, when they start to lose to G2, just kind of hide in their base in fear. And I'm not going to say accept the inevitable, but lose the will to go for crazy plays, lose the will to go for 1v1s. But Humanoid, despite being put down in the early game, still comfortable and confident in knowing that he can come out on top of that 1v1.
And Splyce as a whole to finally find some sort of win condition that they can play around and get their footing back into this game. I agree with you, Vedius. It is going to be about who finds who first for Humanoid, so it doesn't mean that they automatically get side lane priority here with the Akali, but there is something now that they can play for, especially because Chachi is also close to level 16 for that Gangplank ultimate.
It certainly is, and now they may have caught out Mikyx. They're looking for him, trying to land a barrel, won't be able to, but the other important thing to note is Splyce have all 3 teleports available. That means that the map is so much easier for them to play through, and remember, Splyce are strong when playing around objectives, and now that they have all of the cards in their hand available to make pretty much any play they want, and G2 have been over-aggressive at times to allow Splyce to actually not be that far behind, Splyce is now in a position to actually fight back and maybe set up for a ban.
And it's also the fact that G2 kind of have to play into the Coliseum that Splyce want to fight around, that Baron, because there is a very short-range composition. You don't have a traditional ADC. You said that they're going to have a hard time sieging. It makes them that much more overly reliant on securing the Baron, and that can be the moment if Splyce are able to match it when they strike.
Caps will deny Vizicsacsi at the top of the map. Vizicsacsi now showing up to clear out the wave, and you can check in on the gold. Perkz actually at the top of the charts alongside Vizicsacsi, but I like that you're bringing that up because we heard from the desk, we heard from Ender, hey, Splyce love fighting around these objectives, and now it feels like G2 have played right into their hands as we move later in the game. If this is what Splyce like to do as a team, G2 are set up as a comp to do the exact same thing.
Still not guaranteed, however, it is going to come down to execution. We talk all the time that G2 get away with murder and things that should not be possible just because they're that good.
Yeah,
so
and
still looking at execution of these team fights.
I still kind of look at this Splyce comp and I think, how well does it scale? Because while you can often think of like late game Gangplank, late game Akali, sure they're strong, how is a Lucian gonna perform in these team fights? He has a lot of mobility, but there's a lot of members of G2 that want to try and execute him right at the start of the fight. Can a Lux really provide that much peel or utility in a team fight situation like this? So how these comps actually match up, given the amount of melee champions on the side of G2, is definitely quite an interesting one that I'm looking forward to.
I agree. I feel like most of the responsibility for the Splyce team fight is on Humanoid and Xerxe, and making sure that Chachi also gets a really nice ultimate. It'd be nice if Kobbe, you know, flexes on people, but I think his job is very different to this team than being that hyper carry that we expect Kobbe to be.
Phantom Dancer coming through for Kobbe is also going to be really important. Doesn't quite work like the way it does in TFT, so we can still be crit. But it offers a lot of value and it mitigates a lot of that damage, adds an extra bit of tankiness, so maybe he doesn't have to rely so much on the peel and protection of Norskeren, and instead he can rely on his own self-peel.
And he's definitely going to need it, because on the other side, for G2's composition, even if you manage to find one, and they are constantly kind of out of position here, it's been a couple of instances that G2 members are getting picked off, there's still so many damage threats and so many creative ways to play out these team fights, especially in close quarters like the jungle here, because of the amount of AoE that they have.
And additionally, for Perkz in the wind wall, this cooldown can decide a team fight. The good news is obviously the Gangplank barrels won't interact with it. He can still get some decent AoE damage in the fight between the barrels and the ultimate, but if Kobbe is, you know, feeling a little too confident over commits, how many times have we seen a wind wall just make a player look foolish?
Look at this map setup from G2. They have gained full control over the top side of the jungle. It is completely dark for Splyce, and I think that they're just going to be able to secure this because Splyce won't be able to react in time.
No blue trinkets left. One just used, and that means the G2 are just going to grab that Baron completely uncontested. Caps now moves to the top side of the map. Has activated the temporary spell shield from the Knight's Veil. Will fall away now, and G2 this is what they needed, and they got it uncontested.
And the reason why this happened was because G2 sacrificed bot lane in order to have more members around the top side. So Splyce as a 4 could not challenge the 5, basically giving the freedom for G2 to walk into the enemy jungle, gain all this vision, and get a completely uncontested Baron.
Here comes the engagement.
GP ult now comes out. Xerxe can try to fire back. Now Humanoid in the midst of the team, but he's not even going to get the shroud. He just barely manages to make it out alive. He's ticking. The Ignite comes out, and he's going to drop as the Chaos Storm will find the kill.
All of the control, all the vision, and G2 finally strike. They've got the Baron, they have the wave behind them, looking for kills and getting flashes. They have now put their foot firmly on the gas.
And we went from a dead even game where Splyce might have had a chance to find a Baron fight to G2 with the Baron, finding a pick and looking to end right here. A little bit late, not quite the 26.5-minute average that they're used to, but G2 in absolute control as they barrel into the Splyce base. 30 seconds left on Humanoid. Maybe, just maybe, Splyce can hold on, but for now the inhibitor will drop in favor of G2. It looks like they will be able to walk out unscathed.
Right now, G2 have no other lanes set up to properly siege into the base, so they're going to use this opportunity to reset, spend some of the gold that they have in their inventory, and trust me, they have quite a lot, which means that some big items are going to come through off the back of this G2 base, and then they're going to look to pressure the final inhibitors and Nexus turrets of Splyce.
And just instantaneously, the game snapped away from Splyce. It felt like they were barely hanging on. They had managed to claw their way kind of back into this game, and then G2 just closed the door on them, taking the Baron and then taking this team fight.
And this was Splyce basically saying, well, we've caught Perkz, let's try and go for a fight. Humanoid goes into the backline thinking that his Shroud will keep him alive, but that E locks you in that animation, and in that time, G2 were very quick to react. They eliminate him immediately, and without Humanoid available, G2 are easily able to clean up the rest of the fight.
And this is Splyce's Alamo, the last chance to hold on here, 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the Baron buff. One inhibitor already down on the top side, G2 see that, and they immediately move to the bottom side. Xerxe using the Stolen Ult to find a little bit of poke. Caps blocks a bit with the Knight's Veil here. And move forward for a bit more. Perkz, though, continues to be a looming threat for the rest of the team. Has the QSS, playing with a lot more confidence. Windwall will come out, though. Major cooldown, not going to follow up on the Tornado. G2 just looming, threatening, protecting this cannon minion. Really, their only siege option is that minion, so they will do their best to protect it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can see how it does really slow down G2's ability to siege, so they're looking for some of these key abilities to tag, maybe some outplays to be made.
Wunder flashing out, trying to get to safety. GP all now coming in. Wunder will go down, shut down for Vizicsacsi. Cap now going to try to find the kill on the Humanoid. He will get it instantly. That's the 1-for-1 in the end. Big Lux out. Kobbe trying to find Perkz, but Xerxe has already died. Vizicsacsi going to do what he can to clear the waves. Jankos leaps forward. It looks like he might just get taken down, but Perkz in the midst of the team. Yasuo damage is just too much. Qiyana will move in for the kill. Oh no, G2 just clean him up. The triple for Perkz. The Yasuo is online, and G2 are going to end the game.
Absolute obliteration in the final team fight from G2. Perkz finally showcasing his Yasuo skills, and G2 will look to remain at the top of the league as we move into the second half of the split.
And this is the dominance we've come to know from G2. No doubt in your mind that they are the top team in the LEC.
We gotta reiterate though, there were definitely moments where G2 were greedy, they were overextended. This game was heavily in their control, and they slowed down due to a lot of plays that they did not need to force. And there was a small window where I thought, hey, Splyce might be able to come back, Splyce might be able to actually challenge G2, but then G2 kind of got their heads back into the game, refocused, and they looked like a clean execution.
And you can see why Splyce thought that they were fine to kind of set up in that formation. They had the TP on the bot side. Humanoid felt very confident in the 1v1s, you know, given what the setup was going to be. But the back-timers, the fact that they lost complete vision, the fact that G2 just muscled them out of that jungle.
But also I just think it's the speed at which G2 play, right? Because they were very quick and clean. It was almost like one fell swoop. They just push mid, push top, full vision of the enemy jungle, and then almost immediately, as the waves were being cleared, Baron has started. And Splyce are like, how do we even have time to react to this?
It used to be that you would hear pro players when they were interviewed about talking about Faker, how it felt like he just saw into the future and that his reaction time, or the time that you had to react to him, was just so much smaller. That's what G2 feels like as a team. They're like, Faker as a team. You have very tiny windows to figure out what the right call is, and that's kind of been one of the thorns in Splyce's side. They usually always pick the right call, but it takes them a little bit to find it, and G2 just doesn't give you that room to breathe.
And it's just so oppressive because you can see, as you mentioned, they're always thinking a play ahead. Literally, when they're making that play that we called questionable on the bottom side, they're already planning the Ocean Drake. They said, hey, we lost this, but we're going to grab this too, and they're just moving at a pace faster than the rest of the teams. Of course, we'll hear more about G2 later, potentially, as PGL starts up with Bwipo and Broxah just a few minutes away. But in the meantime, I mean, once again, just dominance from G2 and a happy Jankos.
I will also say that I think the draft that Splyce went for, to me, didn't give a clear indication of what their main goals were in the game. Like, in the early game, I wanted to see them play around bot side. I wanted to try and get to deny the Perkz and Mikyx, but we never saw a Gangplank ultimate being set up bot. We never really saw any TP plays, even though they have massive TP advantage on their side. And we never really saw Xerxe have a huge impact in the early game like he typically does. And a large part of that was because of how well Jankos was utilizing his pressure. But I do feel like part of the draft from Splyce was very much reacting to what G2 was doing in their draft rather than coming in with a clear game plan of how they wanted to try and deal with the early game pressure of G2.
I mean, it felt like the tools were, you see the Yasuo and the Gragas come out, you know that Perkz and Mikyx are going to be aggressive, so you have something like a Gangplank that if they try to go aggressive, maybe you can make something happen down there. But the fact that so many early flashes were burned into the mid lane, that it was Jankos that was like, no, we are forcing you to play around Caps, or Caps is saying, no, you are forced to play around me. Again, you get tired of hearing it. I know we sound like broken records, but it is one of the coolest things about when you face G2. They change how you think the game is going to go, and they force you to react to them as players, not necessarily as their composition.
And the interesting thing, too, is that we knew that teams were banning this Yasuo away from Perkz, and we saw top lane Yasuo when he swapped out for Wunder, and that was, we're kind of wondering, okay, why is this still being banned? And this is the reason why, is that this bot lane is so oppressive, and it really messes up. It feels like most draft strategies you'd want to put up against it. But of course, it's a good opportunity, folks. You're not on Twitter. Kia player of the game, LOL Esports, Jankos, Perkz, Mikyx.
Ooh, good choices. I like them a lot. I think Mikyx's Gragas was phenomenal. For those that don't know, he's been playing Gragas for like years.
He's
It's his one trick, and it's something that he prides himself in playing. And the fact that Grabbz has now let him play it means that Mikyx must have earned some massive brownie points, because he never thought he'd get to play this competitively.
No, I thought he'd be on Braum or Tom Kenton in his most recent set of nerfs. But we can get more on that, because Grabbz is standing by with Laure. Let's see what they have to say.
Thank you guys, and congrats, Grabbz, about this victory. How was it for you from backstage? What did you think about the game?
It was a bit stressful. We didn't play the best opponents coming from Rift Rivals, so we got away with a lot of stuff. And I think Splyce didn't pressure us that much, but they punished our ends really well. And I'm also happy about the way they drafted, because I really don't like the approach some teams do where they ban like Qiyana, Mordekaiser, Yasuo, because that gives us always a free draft because we know what's happening. They took a risk. It didn't work out this time, but that's the way they should approach it if they want to win the draft. So I think they played really well.
How did Caps react when he saw that he could finally play Qiyana in the mid lane?
I mean, he said today that waking up, he had the feeling he gets it today, so I guess he was right. I mean, besides that, reaction is normal. We prepared for it. We prepared for other cases, so nothing spectacular.
Well, now, a bit more about you, because I think we never had a chance to really talk about your part in G2, your role as a coach. What makes this iteration of G2 different from the one you had last year, for instance?
We have two more vocal players now. Beforehand, Valée and Qiyana were both really quiet in discussion. Mikyx is also a bit quiet, but he brings his ideas in. So all 5 players are really creative and very vocal. So basically, we have permanent discussions about everything, and it's really pleasant.
Okay, what is the worst and the best thing about coaching these guys?
I think it's actually the same point, that they're also vocal and creative, because it's like a double-edged sword, right? Of course, it gives me freedom in draft, and we can do all the crazy stuff, and we look good. At the same time, if it goes wrong, it's my fault, and it's kind of hard to bring structure in. Like, for the first time, I was like really struggling with discipline, until I said, like, you know what, in this team, I let them have the freedom. They're artists, you know, like, they can do whatever they want, and that's fun.
I mean, yeah, when you have such gifted players and winning so much, is it hard for you to raise the voice and be listened when they do something wrong, for instance?
Actually, no, because with the environment where, again, I am there to mediate discussions more, I make sure we get the right conclusions. That means I am not going in strong with my opinion first. That means at a certain point, when actually I'm serious about something, they can pick it up immediately and they actually listen to me. So yeah, unless they get the conclusion themselves, I just step in, and then they know, okay, there's actually something you have to listen to.
All right. Tell me a bit more about the environment at G2, because something that the teams got better at is having a lot of staff with them. So how does it work for you? Do you have a psychologist, analyst, and so on? What is the recipe for G2 success?
I want to use that point here to give praise to Duffman, our analyst, and I think he's by far the best analyst in the West. Like, there's not even close. And a lot of scouting work he does. So every time we go into a game, thanks to him, we feel very prepared, and we rarely get surprised. So, I mean, we just have a really good analyst. I think I do an okay draft sometimes. Sometimes it runs it down, but it's fine. And again, like we have an atmosphere where everybody can contribute and nobody's afraid to say something. And we're just very open. So therefore, we get the conclusions faster, I think, than other teams.
How do you work for the players to trust each other so much? Because it showcases on stage, obviously.
I think it began already when the team came together, because all 5 players or have the case to be one of the best in the position in the West as well. So there's automatically a big respect towards each other. Whereas I feel in other teams, there's maybe 1 star. And even though, of course, it's not conscious, there might be some distrust or some, okay, your opinion is not as important. Whereas in G2, I feel like everybody actually really trusts each other and respects each other. So the first instinct, if somebody says something, is, okay, he actually might be right, let's check out, instead of being defensive.
Well, it works for now, and you're on top of Europe, and actually the world maybe for now. So congrats on that. Thank you for joining me and for these insights. It's always interesting to hear about the teams. And to wrap up,
Thanks for having me.
Well, to wrap up the week, let's send it over to Sjokz for PGL. Take it away.